just like that river.
A week after we saw shootings in Minnesota and Louisiana, and then another shooting down in Dallas on Thursday night, a Black Lives Matter protest rally march was held in Oklahoma City, already scheduled. They went through with it Sunday night. We're in Bricktown. Protest is just wrapping up. The Reverend Jesse Jackson from the East 6th Street Eastside Church is addressing the crowd, and I'm joined by Ben Felder from the Oklahoman. And Ben, they expected around 1,000 or 2,000 people, and they probably got that, maybe more.
Yeah, it looks like it. A really good crowd here. Most of the marchers started at the old Calvary Baptist Church on the north side of Bricktown and Deep Deuce, marched over the bridge into here to Bricktown, and then gathered for a rally here around the fountains in front of our Harkin Theater. And, a lot of, maybe concern or questions about tonight. You mentioned Dallas. A similar march down there that ended in violence with a lone shooter taking the lives of police officers and hurting some members of the protest. We didn't see any of that violence tonight. A lot of anger, a lot of passion, a lot of emotion, but no violence. We actually, I think the thing that I'm going to take away, the visual in my mind, I'll take away the most from tonight, is when we were coming over the bridge into Bricktown, there were police officers lining the roads, blocking off the streets, serving as barriers. And a group of marchers, black and white, kind of lined up and started shaking hands and hugging one of the police officers. And he was shaking hands back and hugging them, included kids, older men and women.
I'm marching for my kids, my generation, the generation for them. We're pretty much grown, but still yet, this is who our generation is going to depend on. So I teach them how to love, because they're here to protect and serve. Everybody's not racist. Every officer, I'm gonna say officer, is not out to harm everybody. And I have to teach them that. And
it was just kind of a nice image to see, especially in this time where there's a lot of tension, especially between the African American community and law enforcement, here and across the country. And that was one of the images that I thought was kind of powerful from tonight.
The Reverend's getting them fired up back there in the background as we're wrapping this up. It was a diverse crowd, old, young, black, white. Saw a complete mix joining the crowd that had the march from the cavalry back down to here. Various religious figures, political figures, civic leaders, we heard from attorneys, all addressed the crowd.
It would be wrong, however, to allow individuals whose rage led them down a murderous path to put a period at the end of a much-needed conversation. We must not allow the actions of people that we cannot control from stopping us, from demanding reforms from institutions that we have every right to control.
We're not saying we're anti-police, but we're anti-injustice. Anytime there's an injustice, we're anti. We're looking for freedom and justice for all people 24/7. Anytime and every time that we ride down the street, we got to look over our shoulders, because we don't know the reaction of somebody that don't look like us with a badge. That's a problem. We also understand that it's about 1 or 2% of those bad apples in that bunch. But those are the ones that we're concerned about. Everybody out there that saw some of these tapes, some of these videos of murders being taken place, who we gonna believe? Our lying eyes or the truth? We, each and every one of us play a role in fixing and changing and correcting where we're at. The Congress lady just told you, the senator just told you, we have to do it at the polls.
One thing I want you to remember is public policy is shaped by public opinion. And we can't afford to be quiet anymore. When you're at work and you hear somebody talking that yin yang, you gotta speak up. When you're on the street and your friends say something crazy, you gotta speak up. And when it comes November 8th, I need y'all to go in and vote.
A big tone of theirs, a big point of theirs was to get out and vote and make a change at the polls, part of your civic engagement.
Yeah, I mean, this rally was, the Black Lives Matter movement has been about advocating for the equality of the African American community, especially in light of the, high profile and some non-high profile shootings of African Americans by the hands of law enforcement. But one of the things that they talked about was the importance of voting, getting out to the ballot or to your precincts and voting for change. Another thing they talked about was the issue of cameras on law enforcement.
Less than a week or so ago, they took the cameras off of the officers. Everywhere that the cameras are on officers, violent crimes have gone down. It's a proven fact.
And Oklahoma City actually recently had been wearing the body cameras because of an issue between the department and the police union. Those cameras have been removed. A lot of these speakers said, hey, we need to pressure the police department to get those cameras back on. Councilman Pettis, who represents Northeast Oklahoma City, he said, we need to see more African Americans on the police force.
As we talk about injustices in our law enforcement, I stand before you this evening to say it's time that we have black police officers.
We need to see more people from our community, applying and training to become police officers. So a lot of specific things were brought up as part of advocating for change here in the community. But just this general cry from the crowd, blacks and whites, saying, "Hey, it's time to value the lives of Black or African Americans across the country."
We want justice we want justice. That's why Black Lives Matter. And if you don't understand that, then you are falling victim to the sickness. Because when we deal with the atrocity that happens to Black lives by the policing system that's in this country, it helps other lives as well. Black Lives Matter does not mean any other life doesn't matter. That's not what it means. It means that we have to deal with the systemic problem. The problem of young men losing their lives and young women losing their lives at the hands of police officers.
And those were the speakers that addressed the crowd present outside Harkins Theater in Bricktown. But along the way on the march, we spoke with various citizens about why they were here.
I think often the attention is taken away from a cause because people want to think that supporting something specifically minimizes greater causes, and it's not the case, and I need my family to be able to see that firsthand. They will see the importance of being a leader within their own homes, in their own communities, in their own schools, and then branch from there. I think as a whole, our society thinks that leadership has to be something much bigger, and if you can't do something huge, then you're not making a difference, and the reality is everybody needs to be a leader in their own home, and that's where we start. I don't live my life in fear, and so I think it's important to get out. I feel like this is a much smaller crowd because the media has blown things out of proportion and people are fearful of what may happen, and it's a chance that I was willing to take.
Talked to some mothers who had brought out their children about why this was important for them, and they talked about the next generation. This idea that they were trying to create a better world for their son or for their daughter. Talked to some asking, hey, did you feel uncomfortable about coming out tonight, especially what happened in Dallas? And some admitted that, yeah, they were a little nervous, but felt like that it was still important for them to come out. One young woman told me that I fear for my life every day, so coming out tonight wasn't going to be any different.
Just to stand together, let our voices be heard, march together as one, let everybody know Black lives do matter. For us to start making a difference and to come together and be heard as one instead of individuals and let the diversity be gone. It was a 50-50, You hear people say, that protests won't make a difference, but, the other 50% was my hope and faith. I'm really ready for things to change. Growing up, I went to, a school that was a lot of Caucasians. I was one of the only Black students. Growing up with them, I didn't see a difference. And I also grew up thinking that, my life would be okay. But, now it's kind of like, I'm judged by the color of my skin, and I'm also not able to do the things that I want to do with my life. I'm really looking for solutions myself, It's been a lot of years and nothing's really changed, so I'm just waiting to see if someone, above us could take the initiative.
I feel like it's time for a change because of what's happening around the world, just from what happened in Dallas to all the shootings of the innocent Black people, and it needs to stop.
Basically the same, we're tired of these people getting away with murdering people of color, and it's time to stop it. We're not here to separate. When people talk about the All Lives Matter, we're not here to divide each other, we're here to unite each other. And I think that people sometimes don't understand that they think that this movement is basically to divide, and that we're saying that only Black Lives Matter, when really that is not the point whatsoever.
Did get a little scared, but I wasn't gonna back down. I was just, what happens, but yeah.
I'm scared for my life every day. Coming to this protest, if something were to happen, it was because I was doing it for a great cause, and I'm standing behind that 100%.
2,000-3,000 people here, mostly a very peaceful protest. You'll get into some of the things you saw from the back of the crowd. What I saw at the front of the crowd was mostly heat related.
Yeah, for part of the rally, I kind of went to the back of the group, and there were some protesters from the other side. It was kind of hard to tell what their message was exactly, but they were kind of antagonizing those who were here in support of Black Lives Matters. There were times where, some of the Black Lives Matters participants kind of made a circle, were trying to shout them down, kind of got in each other's faces, a lot of arguing, and got heated at points, but never violent. And, I kind of kept an eye on some of the police officers that were there, because there were quite a bit, and they never took kind of a defensive posture. They were always watching and observant. There was also another group that had some Confederate flags that kind of made their way into the group. Once again, it kind of got heated, people shouting each other's face.
Understand, they have every right to be here. We are here for peace. We want to keep it that way. We don't need to look. We don't need to look, and we don't need to antagonize, and we are not going to engage. Let them do their thing. As long as they stay over there, we all good. Everybody say amen. Let's go.
There was one arrest made. It was hard to tell which side that person was on. But officers were doing their best to try to keep the crowd separate from each other. There was one man from the Black Lives Matter group that was saying, hey, this is just what they want. They want the attention. Let's go back and hear the speakers. And after a while, the crowd started to disappear. But never any violence that I saw. Like I said, some heated opinions were being spoken, high emotions. But for the most part, a peaceful rally is what we saw here tonight.
Very good. That'll do it from outside the Harkins Theater in Bricktown. Alongside Ben Felder and Dave Morris for the Oklahoma.